Fuel pump. Ah. See, I got mirrors now. One of them's broken, but that's okay. Oh. Oh, I love you so much. You need new fairings, but I do love you. Hello. It's always cool to make kids happy. They want to hear the thing rev, why not? For those who are wondering, yeah, I do have mirrors on here because this thing needs to pass inspection. Please don't pull out. The reason why I have mirrors on here right now, it's not because I want them. Honestly, like I hate the look of mirrors on this thing, especially when they're not even Honda mirrors. These are Kawasaki mirrors. They're from the courtesy of my man Joe, and I've got them because this bike needs to pass inspection, which it still hasn't done yet, and it will. Can I? Yep. This is a video I made like a long time ago, but you know, when I reviewed the footage, it didn't look good. Basically, I just took too long to tell the story. Like by that time we were done with the video, it should have been like an 8 to 10 minute video. Like it went from like broad daylight like it is right now to being pitch black at night. So I didn't really want to post that. It didn't make much sense, you know, like story wise and like flow. And every video I make, I always try to have a good flow, something people can follow. It's easy to watch, comfortable to watch, whatever. So I wanted to tell you guys the story of how this bike kind of came to be, because even the people that are completely against the fact that I bought a leader bike as my first bike, you know, yeah, some of the people are like, well, I mean, you're buying a leader bike, why didn't you at least buy a good one? You know, because like a 954 is kind of known for not being a great leader bike, especially when they only made it for 2 years, and it was kind of like the bastard child of leader bikes, especially when it came to Honda. Like in 2004, CBR 1000 came out. People were like, why the fuck would you buy a 954 at that point? Like, there's no point whatsoever to buy this bike. Not to mention the short wheelbase, it's very torquey, and you know, it just isn't a very good bike for anybody to start on. Like, if you're trying to start on a leader bike, there's a lot better leader bikes you can start on. You know, ones with assists and ones that have more assists than, you know, just a fuel light. Like this has no traction control, no ABS, nothing. Which is honestly the way I want it, because guaranteed if I bought a bike that actually had that stuff, I'd turn it off. So I wanted to talk about why I bought this particular bike. But I think it's only right if I kind of tell you guys a little bit of a backstory on how I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm buying a leader bike as my first bike, and nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. Because, you know, it's not a safe thing to start on a leader bike. You know, I'm not even gonna pretend it's safe. You know, it's not safe to ride a motorcycle at all. You know, anybody who tells you riding a motorcycle is safe has never ridden a motorcycle before. But point being, usually you want to start on, you know, the typical saying that everybody says is get a 250 or get a 300 or whatever. But typically people say just start on a 250. And when I first wanted to buy a bike, that's what my inclination was. Like I was going to try and buy like a Honda, like a Rebel 250, or like just something that, you know, I could get my feet wet, you know, and then slowly progress. Because I know that, you know, with riding a motorcycle, it's not like driving a car. You know, I had no prior experience whatsoever riding a motorcycle except that stinking MSF course. And if you guys saw my video that I first posted of me riding this bike, I'll tell you what, that did me a whole lot of good. While it did teach me how to ride, it didn't teach me how to ride. You know what I mean? Like, sort of like when you take Spanish class in school, they teach you the language, but they don't actually teach you how to speak it. That kind of thing. So for a long time I was set on like getting like a 300 or something like that, and eventually it progressed into me trying to buy a 600, because I was like, well, you know, you can't really go on the highway with a 250 or a 300. It becomes difficult, and most of the time when I'm going to be riding, it's going to be with friends or whatnot, or if I'm recording a motovlog, or if I'm going to Virginia, which seems to be a commute I consistently make. I figured it would be better if I got a 600, and a lot of people on the internet say starting on a 600, you know, that's not bad, you know, like it's still more dangerous than a 300, but you know, 600 is something you can grow into, and it's not as dangerous as buying, well, the leader bike. But for a very long time I was set on buying a 600, and obviously the typical 600 you look at, and I even made a video talking about it, buy a CBR 600 F4i or a double R, you know, like it's the Craigslist special. Usually you can get them all for about $2,000, but either way, that's what I was set on. But me getting a motorcycle, like convincing my parents to buy a motorcycle, that is a completely different thing in itself. But I'm going to continue talking as soon as we get moving right over here. So, you know, the motorcycles, we can kind of like fit anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, well, if I want to go there, I can go there. Now, in terms of me getting a motorcycle, when I first brought it up with my parents, and keep in mind, me wanting to get a motorcycle for a long time, I said to myself I would never fucking buy a motorcycle. Like, everyone in my family is anti-motorcycle. My dad's grandfather died in a motorcycle accident, so you could probably imagine nobody in my family wanted a motorcycle in the house. But what made me say to myself, I want a fucking motorcycle, was, you know, I was hanging out with Joe and, you know, making videos together. It felt like I was missing something. And the more I hung out with him and the more videos I watched of motorcycle stuff, the more I got interested in it, like anything else. I mean, what can I say, man? I mean, it's cool to see somebody zipping around cars and shit like that with a motorcycle that's loud as sin. I mean, what am I supposed to say? So that really got me into it. And, you know, I was, you know, trying to talk to my parents, and I tried convincing them, and, you know, even to this day, they're completely against it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, they are still, my mother is not happy that there is a motorcycle in the garage, let alone the Corvette. Yeah, she's still not happy about the Corvette. She's really pissed about this thing. My dad's not on my side, but he supports me, and that's the thing I'm gonna mention here. I told my parents, I said, I'm going to get a motorcycle. I'm going to do it because I want to incorporate it in my channel. It's going to be a part of my future career. You know, I wanted to make this part of what I do. And I really like the idea of getting a motorcycle. And I told them, I'm going to get one whether you guys like it or not. You know, it's just, I'd rather when I get one, you know, be a sooner or later, I'd rather you guys support me. My dad kind of saw the reason with that, but my mother was like, oh, nope. But eventually, like, I had money to buy the bike, not necessarily to afford it, but I had money to buy the bike, and I was going to buy it. And my thought process was, I buy it in the winter when you can get a cheap-ass fucking price for it. And then when it comes nice outside, like around now, like it's not nice now, but this season, I would be able to ride it. Mo lives over there. Hi, Mo. It's too bad you're in Indonesia. I set up a whole deal of buying this, like, F4i for, like, 1,800 bucks. It was a nice F4i, but, you know, there was no reason for me to have it. And I couldn't afford it, and I couldn't get it back. I couldn't trailer it, nothing like that. I had no way of bringing it back. I tried to work around, because my parents were, like, trying to, you know, get me not to buy it and, like, put up walls. And, you know, it turned into this humongous debate in my house. And eventually, there's even a video on it on my channel. My parents basically said, listen, if you go out and buy a motorcycle and you do it without our quote-unquote consent, and you bring that thing here, you know, you're not going to be able to live here if that's what you're going to be doing. In other words, my parents are like, if you buy a motorcycle, we're kicking you out of the house. Very simple. Oh, see, that shit feels good. So for a long time, completely dropped the motorcycle and never talked about it, didn't have the money for it. Now, many of you know I filmed the $500 car challenge for Rob Ferretti. And after I got back from that, you know, I caught myself looking, ooh, that was a good one. I caught myself looking at motorcycles again. I remember seeing a CBR 954 for about 2,500 bucks. Now, quick thing about how the CBR 954 came to be. I was looking for a CBR 600, and I saw a CBR 600 listed, but it was this bike. You know, they didn't list it correctly. And when I saw this bike, and then I saw YouTube videos of it and stuff like that, you know, I fell in love with this damn thing. Yeah, let's not do that. That sounds so good, man. Man, I completely fell in love with the look of this bike. You know, I saw, you know, a whole bunch of videos of like wheelies and shit with this bike. And granted, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing on this bike, and I don't do that. Like, I don't know how to do a wheelie, and frankly, I don't want to know right now. Down the line. But point being, I fell in love with this, and I didn't want a 600 anymore. I was like, you know, every YouTuber has a 600. Joe has a 600. Walterific has a 600. Yummy has a 600. You know, all these guys, they got 600s, and that's great and all, but, you know, I don't like being like everybody else. I don't like doing the same thing everyone else does. I like being different. So I thought, you know what, 954, people consider that the bastard child of leader bikes. It's kind of a rare bike nowadays because they only made it for 2 years. You know, this perfectly fits me. I thought that this would be the best bike I could possibly buy and would fit my channel the best. You know, I wouldn't just want to buy, you know, something that has no soul. I mean, I know 600s, you know, like, it's not like a 600 has no soul. I'm just saying, like, for me, like this bike speaks to me more than a 600 would, any 600. But I fell in love with the 954, and when I told my parents I wanted to buy a liter bike as my first bike, that was a whole nother dispute in the house. And finally it came down to, you know, my parents saying, you know, I told my parents, I said, listen, I got the money now, like, because I had more money at the time when I came back from Rob Ferretti. I got the money, and, you know, I'm doing this because I want the bike. One, wouldn't buy anything I wouldn't want, and then two, it's for something I want to do for my channel, for my career. And my parents know that I'm trying to do YouTube and I'm taking this seriously as a career, and whether they want to or not, they support it. They don't like the idea, but they do support me, and that speaks a lot for my parents, you know, what they put up with me, because, you know, I do a lot of dumb shit. You know, one day I could be up all night editing and whatever, and then the next day, like, I might not be at the house in the morning because I've been out all night somewhere. Like, they put up with a lot of stuff and they trust me, and I gotta say thank you to that. What the fuck did that bus do? Did you hit a car? What what happened, bro? So once I kind of got my parents' consent, so to speak, then it came time to me actually finding the motorcycle I want. Now, instead of spending a good amount of time looking for a bike, I basically decided on one overnight. Like, I looked around, and finally when I found the best deal, that's the one I bought. Best part was, the guy that I bought my bike from, he had seen me on YouTube before. I was talking to him on the phone, and I mentioned I do YouTube, and he's like, wait a minute, do you own a red Corvette, like an L24 Corvette? And I was like, no fucking way. I'll tell you what, I was laughing my ass off. I was like, no fucking way do you know me from YouTube. So we finally agreed on a price, and then it came time. I told Joe, I was like, listen, could you help me come pick up this bike? And well, Joe was, you know, he was reluctant. Like, he didn't exactly want to help me buy a liter bike. You know, as a friend, he was like, yeah, I got you, bro. So we went up to Pennsylvania. It was a 200-mile drive. We went there, we picked up the bike, I rode the bike, I dumped the bike. We brought the bike back home, and all was good. And some of you guys have asked me, like, do your parents know you dumped that bike? You know, like, do they know what you've done with this thing? And the answer is yes, they do. But yeah, guys, like, that's how the liter bike, that's how the 954 kind of came to be, you know. And also, you know, now I've coined the phrase, like, the name of this bike is Bad Bitch. Because, you know, ever since, you know, we brought that bike home, you know, I kept on saying, and Joe kept on saying, you know, this bike, she's a bad bitch. And I think I'm going to be printing some stickers for that soon, because I think it'd be kind of funny to have a sticker, like, right here that says Bad Bitch on it. Who knows? Things to come, you know, I don't know yet. So quickly, I want to mention, where am I going now? I'm going to Joe's house because I wanted to get his opinion of, you know, what he was thinking, you know, and kind of get his side of the story, what he was thinking when I decided I wanted to buy this bike. And I told him, I was like, yeah, so we're going to buy a 954. I want to get his reaction, plus I'm going to scare the living shit out of him. I know he's home editing, I'm sure, so I think I'm going to give him a warm welcome, if you guys know what I mean here. And fuck, dude. Oh, this is why I hate this road. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I have a feeling Joe might understand that language. There's a lot of people here. Hi! Are you there? Hello? I'm surprised. Oh, I got him. Okay. I figured. So I came here because I'm doing a video talking about how the 954 came to be. You're like, why I bought it, you know, how I decided I needed a 954. And I wanted to get your, you know, like your impression, like when I told you I'm going to buy a 954.
Well, I thought it was not a very good idea. I didn't think you getting a 600 was a good idea. So when you started throwing around the idea of getting a 954, just like, I didn't really know much about the bike, so I just knew that it, you know, it's a liter bike basically, you know. And then when you started telling me more about it, this is not a good idea.
Yeah, and then what was your initial impression when I fucking dumped the bike?
My first initial thing was just like, I told you. I told you. Easy. And then you go and try to,
fucking rev matched it.
Rev match, yeah. And I'm like, you know, I was just like, it's going too fast, going too fast, going too fast. Fuck. Nothing. I mean, I did tell you, so you know, that's all I could do, I guess.
Okay.
You know.
But did you, like, support me regardless of, like, getting it, or were you just like, nope, don't support it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, hey Joe, so let's go pick up a 954. The fuck no. Thanks for going with me though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, good man for doing that.
Anytime, you know, like that's what you want to do.
Well, that was Joe. You know, like, I mean, there's nothing new here. Like, you know, he's talked about it in his videos. I've talked about it in my own videos previously. Joe is not gung-ho about me buying this bike. You know, as a friend, he supported me, which is awesome. You know, like, that's an amazing thing, you know, for a friend of yours to, no matter what the decision is, even if it's a bad one in their eyes, you know, it's one thing if they're fucking doing drugs or cocaine or some shit. Like, Joe didn't think it was a good idea, but, you know, he still supported me. And that's all I can ask from friends of mine, you know, no matter what I do, please, for the love of God, support me. Okay, Justice, no matter what your decision is, I support you, and I will, you know, I'll stand by. So anyway, guys, that's kind of my background on the 954. You know, like, it was something that the world told me not to buy, and typically that's enough of a reason for me to buy one, you know? What the fuck? That's the thing with the Corvette. Everyone, even my insurance agent was just like, do not buy this car, dude. This is too big of a, you know, an animal. You can't, you know, you're not going to be able to control this. And while I understood, I said, listen, man, I'm not going to buy anything I don't want. And my parents understood that, so they supported my decision of buying the bike I wanted. Oh, that's so much fun. Oh my god, it sounds like such a pure fucking lawnmower. It's great. Well, guys, I'm going to end it right there with that little bit of a filter in action. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like the video for me and also subscribe for, I want to say daily content, but I've been kind of failing on that recently, and the reason for it is because, well, I'm working on something really big for you guys, and I've talked about that in previous videos. It's all coming together now, but that requires my energy to be devoted towards that instead of uploading daily. If I don't post daily, I'll post about 5 times a week. That's typically what I shoot for. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. All of you guys, have a fantastic day. Excuse me. VIP coming right here. I'm not going to squeeze right there, but I will squeeze right here.